Hello everyone, you are on the channel Who Created It and How. Today we're diving into something we use every single day, something that organizes our lives, our work, and even our holidays. I'm talking about the calendar. Have you ever stopped to wonder where it came from? Who was the genius who first decided to chop up time into days, weeks, and months? Well, the answer isn't as simple as pointing to one person. It's a story that spans thousands of years, multiple civilizations, and some serious brainpower. So grab your planner and let's turn back the pages of history to uncover who invented the calendar. The earliest calendars weren't fancy wall hangings or digital apps. They were born from a fundamental human need to understand and predict the natural world. Imagine you're an early human. Your survival depends on knowing when to plant crops, when to hunt migrating animals, and when the rivers will flood. How do you keep track? You look up. The sky was humanity's first clock and calendar. The most obvious celestial events were the rising and setting of the sun, giving us the concept of a day. But for longer-term planning, early people turned to the moon. The moon goes through a clear, predictable cycle of phases, from new moon to full moon and back again, which takes about 29.5 days. This became the basis for the month. Many ancient cultures, from the Babylonians to the early Chinese, developed lunar calendars. They would count 12 of these lunar cycles, which adds up to about 354 days. Simple, right? Well, not quite. Here's the problem. The seasons, which are crucial for agriculture, are determined by the Earth's journey around the sun, not the moon's journey around the Earth. A solar year is about 365.25 days long. That 11-day difference between the lunar year and the solar year might not sound like much, but it adds up quickly. After just 3 years, your calendar would be a whole month out of sync with the seasons. Your spring planting festival would eventually end up happening in the middle of winter. This was a huge issue, and fixing it became a major obsession for ancient astronomers. This brings us to the ancient Egyptians. Living along the Nile River, their entire civilization was built around its annual flood. Predicting this flood was a matter of life and death. They noticed that the flood always arrived shortly after the brightest star in the night sky, Sirius, reappeared on the eastern horizon just before sunrise. This event, known as the heliacal rising of Sirius, happened like clockwork every 365 days. The Egyptians realized that a 365-day solar calendar was far more accurate for their needs. They created a calendar with 12 months of 30 days each, which gives you 360 days. To make up the difference, they added 5 extra days at the end of the year. These were special festival days dedicated to the gods. This Egyptian calendar was a massive leap forward. It was simple, consistent, and much better aligned with the solar year. It was so effective, in fact, that it became the foundation for the calendar we use today. But there was still that pesky quarter of a day left over. The Egyptians knew about it, but their system didn't account for it. Over centuries, even this small error caused the calendar to drift. Enter the Romans. The early Roman calendar was a mess. It was originally a 10-month lunar calendar that started in March and completely ignored winter. They kept adding and removing days and even whole months to try and keep it aligned with the seasons, often for political reasons. It was so confusing that by the time of Julius Caesar, the Roman calendar was about 3 months ahead of the actual seasons. Imagine celebrating a summer festival in what felt like spring. It was chaos. Julius Caesar decided to fix this once and for all. In 46 BC, he consulted with the best astronomers of his time, including an Alexandrian named Sosigenes. Following his advice, Caesar introduced a new calendar, which we now call the Julian calendar. He adopted the Egyptian model of a 365-day year, but to solve the quarter-day problem, he introduced a brilliant idea, the leap year. Every 4 years, an extra day would be added to the calendar. This made the average length of a year 365.25 days, almost perfectly matching the solar year. To get things back on track, Caesar had to make the year 46 BC incredibly long. It had 445 days and was nicknamed the Year of Confusion. But after that, the Julian calendar provided a stable and accurate system that would dominate the Western world for over 1,600 years. The Julian calendar was an incredible achievement, but it wasn't perfect. Sosigenes and Caesar had calculated the solar year to be exactly 365.135 days. The true length, however, is slightly shorter, at about 365.2425 days. This is a tiny difference of about 11 minutes per year. It's so small, you'd never notice it in your lifetime. But over centuries, those 11 minutes add up. By the 16th century, the Julian calendar had drifted by about 10 days. This became a serious problem for the Christian church, especially when it came to calculating the date of Easter, which is tied to the spring equinox. The equinox was happening 10 days earlier than the calendar said it should. So in 1582, Pope Gregory XIII stepped in to reform the calendar once again. He assembled a commission of astronomers and mathematicians who came up with an ingenious tweak. They kept the leap year system, but with a new rule. A century year, like 1700 or 1800, would only be a leap year if it was divisible by 400. So the year 1600 was a leap year, and the year 2000 was a leap year. But 1700, 1800, and 1900 were not. This adjustment makes the average year in the Gregorian calendar 365.2425 days long, which is incredibly close to the actual solar year. The error is now only about 26 seconds per year. To correct the 10-day drift that had already occurred, Pope Gregory declared that the day after October 4th, 1582 would be October 15th. 10 days were simply skipped. As you can imagine, this caused a lot of confusion and even riots. People felt like they had been robbed of 10 days of their lives. Catholic countries like Italy, Spain, and Portugal adopted the new Gregorian calendar immediately. But Protestant and Eastern Orthodox countries were suspicious of a decree from the Pope and resisted the change for a long time. Britain and its American colonies didn't switch until 1752, by which time they had to skip 11 days. Russia only adopted it after the revolution in 1918. This is why the famous October Revolution in Russia actually took place in November, according to the Gregorian calendar. So, when we ask who invented the calendar, the answer is everyone. It was a collaborative global effort that took thousands of years. It started with ancient sky watchers using the moon, was refined by the practical Egyptians and their star Sirius, standardized by Julius Caesar with the leap year, and finally perfected by Pope Gregory's astronomers. Our modern calendar is a testament to humanity's enduring quest to understand its place in the cosmos and to bring order to the relentless flow of time. From ancient stone circles to the digital calendar on your phone, it's a story of observation, mathematics, and constant refinement. It's a tool built by countless minds over countless generations. And that's the amazing journey of how the calendar was created. It really makes you appreciate the complex history behind something we take for granted every day. What other everyday inventions do you want to learn about? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this journey through time, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to Who Created It and How for more stories behind the things that shape our world. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.